Here's hope Zion develops into an all-star for the Pelicans. Speaking of all-stars, he was introduced to New Orleans yesterday while he's being hailed as a franchise savior and once-in-a-generation talent. Zion had a realistic talk with the media about those otherworldly expectations.
I think people are kind of doing a bit much. I am 18. I haven't even played one game yet. So I look at it just like that. Like, I'm just trying to come contribute to the team. Whatever the vets need me to do, I'm ready to do it.
How many text messages have come into your phone in the last 24 hours? And who are you hearing from? People you haven't heard from in 10 years? Or what's the nature of those types of texts?
Wow, we're just jumping into it. Well, if I'm being honest, not too many, because I recently changed my phone number.
Already a veteran move. Change the number. Now, on draft night, Zion was asked if he had a message for New Orleans fans, and his response was, quote, "Let's dance." There was zero chance he's a David Bowie fan, which turned out to be correct. Zion actually had a story about his version of Let's Dance. And relax, people, it's not a spoiler. It's been a month.
Me and a group of friends, we went to see Avengers Endgame. And if you know me, Thanos is my favorite character. So, Captain America's shield's broken, and I'm like, we're about to win. Like, for once, the movie's gonna be realistic and the bad guy wins sometimes, because he's the strongest. So my friend Axel, he's like, hold on. All of a sudden, all these superheroes who disappeared 5 years ago just start appearing. And I'm like, oh, we might lose. And he looks at me, he goes, let's dance. Let's dance.
By the way, Avengers still in theaters.
Yeah,
you should have seen it. That and Toy Story 4. Up next, filling the void left by Anthony Davis's departure. Zion had the edge on 80 in most statistical categories in college, including a freshman record 68% field goal percentage and the highest ever player efficiency rating. But unlike Zion, AD cut down the nets as a national champion.
I'm going in.
I like it. It was like their senior pictures.
Yeah.
We're all excited for NBA's what promises to be the free agent frenzy coming soon. Some players have to decide on their options. Two Raptors, Kawhi Leonard, Marc Gasol, have until the middle of the week to make their decisions, while Kevin Durant and Jimmy Butler have a deadline of Saturday to pick up or decline their options. Let's bring in our NBA front office insider, Bobby Marks, who has more on impending free agent frenzy. So we do expect, as I said, some of those big names to be available. But I want to start with the teams who have the most money to spend. The Knicks, they've got a potential to do what with their $70 million in cap space, Bobby?
Well, Elle, they've got the potential to go out and get a Kyrie Irving and a Kevin Durant with that $70 million and not have to do anything with that roster. Now the question can they get both players, and what will be plan B if they don't? And if you were looking at a Knicks team that, clearly is in a rebuild right now, do you look at players like Jimmy Butler or Kyrie Irving or, possibly a Tobias Harris here? And I think if you're in New York, if you miss out on these two players, there's nothing wrong with rebuilding. I think we saw what happened in Atlanta, how their team is building through the draft, that you can focus on R.J. Barrett and put a real emphasis on player development here.
We've certainly been talking about rebuild as it pertains to the Knicks for many, many years. As it pertains to the Nets, they also have plenty of money. They use the draft to clear a little bit of coveted cap space, Bobby, so how could they look to utilize that in the future?
Well, you're right. They cleared about $1 million when they moved that pick to the Clippers for a future first-round pick, and they've got the position too, like New York, to go out and get two max players. The question will be is if they have the opportunity to go out and get a Kevin Durant and a Kyrie Irving, they still need to move about $1.3 million in a player here. And the difference between Brooklyn and New York is that Brooklyn still has D'Angelo Russell as a restricted free agent, so they can bring back Russell, go out and get a player like Tobias Harris, and add those two players there, where New York is a little bit different, where they don't have that all-star under contract already.
Okay, so we have much more with Bobby Marks coming up in the next hour. He's going to tell us which team could be a surprising free agent team and who they could be going after. It's definitely a name we haven't heard before. So Bobby Marks sticking around for that.
Here we go. Time now for the week in review, which will start where it should, the NBA draft. We knew that there would be movement, and on Wednesday, the day before the draft, the Grizzlies pulled the trigger,
sending the face of their franchise, Mike Conley, to Utah. And then the Pelicans, the day of the draft, trade the number 4 overall pick to Atlanta for picks 8, 17, and 35. When the dust settled, the top 3 picks went according to plan. Zion to NOLA, John Morant to Grind City, RJ Barrett to NY. But maybe more surprising, the raw emotion from these young men, despite having a pretty good idea for some time that they'd be called early.
I don't even seem real that I just shook his hand. I dreamed about this since I was 4. And for it to actually happen, I just thank God for it.
Tell your dad what this means.
It means a lot for both of us. We both know what I've been through. I don't want to get a little emotional up here, man, but I just want to thank him for everything he done for me. He made me who I am today, and I'm just thankful for it all.
I'm excited for him. You know, your children make goals, and they go out and achieve them. You have to be proud, very proud. I'm proud of you, son.
Wow, of course, those moments, part of a pretty unforgettable night. Could say the same for some of the threads we saw, Matt.
Yeah, you know, if we're going to review the week properly, we have to discuss one of the most discussed parts of the draft, player fashion, and we'll decide who wore it better.
Sure.
And we start with where we should, at the very top, with a one-name phenom that is being called a once-in-a-generation talent. Zion, as you see here, decided to wear the all-white, with the main color being a little bit of an off-white. Where have we seen the all-white look before from a one-name icon, top overall pick, once-in-a-generation talent? Oh, that's right, 2003. As for who wore it better, give me Zion, because apparently LeBron couldn't give his suit to a tailor. Thankfully, neither was Tim Thomas.
Oh, preach. Darius Garland is now a Cav and fired up the internet with this kimono/bathrobe/snuggie number by fear of God. He can create shots. He has an NBA-ready jumper. And he's also ready to spring into action to fight the Empire whenever needed. As for who wore it better between Garland and Obi-Wan, the dude. The dude wore it better.
Yes, okay. Oh, Tyler Hero. I'll give the Kentucky Star this much. His suit choice was his namesake, because it takes a hero to pull off this look. Anyone who could proudly strut the Austin Powers look is heroic. However, give me Powers. He was a British swinger with chest hair and girlfriends. Oh, behave.
Had to go there. While Bol was busy at the draft, I like to imagine that his voicemail went something like, "I'm sorry, I'm not home right now. I'm walking into spiderweb.
Hey!
So leave a message and I'll call you back." Beep. Bol, hey, I love that you paid tribute to Elvira, and Mistress of the Dark is a totally unique marketing approach. Okay, bye. And suddenly Matt, my 90s is showing.
Which is perfect, because the Raptors became a franchise in '95 and have waited forever to be crowned NBA champions. And they showed up in the millions. Crowd estimated between 1 and 2 million fans, including maybe the biggest singing of "O Canada" of all time. And I love it when things come full circle. Remember NBA Media Day when Kawhi was introduced as a member of the Raptors and his viral creepy laugh heard around the world? All right, so from start of the season giggle to championship celebration giggle, who knew Kawhi could make a funny of himself?
Enjoy this moment and have fun with it. Ha, 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 ha.
Yo, petty Kawhi is my favorite Kawhi, by the way. However, the situation in Houston is no laughing matter. Also, maybe not a problem. So after reports that the relationship between Chris Paul and James Harden was unsalvageable, their GM, Daryl Morey, and CP through himself, brushed off the rumors of discord, despite the fact that the reports claim that Harden and Paul didn't speak for nearly 2 months during the season, which personally I think is fine, so long as they continue to share on the court. Right. Matt?
According to ESPN's NBA insider Brian Windhorst and former NBA player Kendrick Perkins, that Brooklyn could soon be the landing spot for not just Kyrie Irving, but Kevin Durant as well. I want to talk about Zion Williamson's future and all of the NBA draft news and notes with former NBA head coach and our NBA draft analyst on ESPN Radio last night. I'm joined now by PJ Carlissimo on the Shell Pennzoil Performance Line. What's up, PJ?
Not much, Will. How are you?
I'm good. I want to talk about Zion. I want to talk about the draft. But you might have heard me just say there's increasing thought, and I know everything right now is not real. Everything is somewhere in the realm between report and rumor. But KD and Kyrie in Brooklyn, what do you think of that with the young guys they have there like LeVert and Dinwiddie and everyone else?
Well, I'm partial to Brooklyn. I love the 2 years, if you count the year Avery and I were together in Jersey, and then the year in Brooklyn. I love the franchise. I love what Sean Marks has done. I think Kenny Williamson's done a fantastic job in terms of what he's done. But I don't think I have no idea what KD's thinking or what makes sense for him. Personally, I'd like to see him stay in Golden State. I think it's been good for him and vice versa. And that's but I have no insight whatsoever into what Kevin's thinking about. For him to go to Brooklyn, there's nowhere Kevin's going to go that's not going to be good. He's going to make the team, immeasurably better. He's a great teammate. Pick a school, close your eyes and pick a team. It's a good move for him. I don't know what he's looking for, honestly, in terms of what kind of city, what kind of team. I know he wants to win championships. I like Brooklyn a lot. Certainly you put Kyrie there. You make a case that, they could come out of the East. But, I mean, if you want to win championships, Golden State's the place to stay. But I really do like Brooklyn in terms of what Sean and Kenny have done, and I like the franchise itself. I love being back in Barclays last night, seeing everybody from the attendants to the people that work for the team. So it's a great place.
Former NBA head coach and a guy who coached Kevin Durant, PJ Carlissimo here on the Will Cain Show. Let's talk about the draft. Let's start with Zion, Coach. I want to ask you how you would use him, how you deploy him. To me, he looks like a 5, but then they do take Jackson Hayes, by the way, right there again at 10, does New Orleans. How do you see Zion being used in the NBA?
I think a 4, but I don't, I've seen him on TV. He's one of the few guys. It's actually kind of funny. I was at the dinner Tuesday night with Mike Krzyzewski, and we talked a lot, of course, about Zion, and I haven't seen him in person. He's one of those guys, and there aren't many, that it's been, everybody I've talked to, it's been 100%, whether it's a scout, a general manager, owners, coaches, everybody goes, can't miss, unbelievable. Talked to John Shire last night, their assistant for a long time in the green room, and he said the kid's motor is unbelievable. He said you can't believe how competitive he is every day at practice and in games, and he's a great teammate. So all I've heard indicates it's true. I don't think there are can't misses, but that he's like that. He's like a LeBron. He's like a KD. He's one of those. Yes, he's not going to miss right from the beginning. I love the people that he's with. I think that was David Griffin made a lot of good moves, but I thought that was a really good move last night. I think the two of them will complement each other. I think he and Hayes are good. Hayes isn't obviously near as ready, but it's interesting, his athleticism, and it would be interesting. I think he's a 4. He runs, when you look at him, you say he can't do these things. You can't play as high. He's not above the rim. He's like up by the top of the square, and he runs the floor. He can catch the ball. Yeah, it would be better, and I think it'll happen if his outside shot gets even better. But it's not bad. And, generally speaking, guys come into the league and all they do is work on basketball. And if his work ethic is anything like Mike told me and everybody else says, he's going to become a better shooter. But I just like him more at the 4 than at the 5. He's a mismatch nightmare no matter what, whether it's 4 or 5. People talk about stretch 4, stretch 5. So all that matters is what you have to guard the guy. So it's hard for you to say, well, he's going to be a stretch this, because other people aren't going to necessarily match their 4 or 5 against him. They're going to match up based on what they have. But, you can't guard a guy. He's so quick. He runs like a deer. He can get up off the ground. So, whether you're throwing lobs to him, whether you're running pick and rolls, whatever, clearly when the shot becomes a lot more reliable, especially if he gets 3-point range, on a steady basis, then the pick and pop's a nightmare. Then you don't know what to do. When he pops out or when he goes, he's probably going to be one of those guys like LeBron was years ago, where you just say, all right, Initially, we're going to make him, we're going to try and make him take jump shots. But again, that team running the floor, I love their backcourt. He's, it's going to be hard to get him into set offense because of the things he does and the damage he'll do on the boards. And, just without even running plays for him, he's going to do enough things on his own that I'm really looking forward to watching him. I hope he plays in Summer League. I'm dying to see him in Vegas.
Taking Jackson Hayes at number 10 suggests they see Zion similar to you. I'm a Texas fan, so I watch Jackson Hayes. I know physically and developmental-wise, he's not quite there yet, but I think that suggests New Orleans agrees with you that Zion 4, Hayes at 5. Talking to PJ Carlissimo here on the Will Cain Show. I don't have a ton of time left, PJ.
By the way, Will, excuse me for interrupting.
Yeah.
Shaka was bubbling over on the trajectory for Hayes. Said, hey, he hasn't even scratched it. He didn't even play. He didn't start or play when he was a junior in high school. He said he's going to get markedly better each year. That's the good news and bad news with these really young guys coming up. You got to project. When you take one, you say, here's the things he does already. And if he fills out these other boxes, it's going to be incredible. But Shaka really liked him, obviously. I'm sure you saw him more than I did, but he was really excited. That was before he knew where he was going.
Talking about Shaka Smart, head coach at the Texas Longhorns basketball program. Really quickly, PJ, I don't have much time left at all, but I wanted to ask you who you thought besides Zion could be a real difference maker. I've heard guys like Seth Greenberg say that Ja Morant is a Pat Mahomes-level talent of college basketball. So who besides Zion is a difference maker?
Well, Ja, for sure. I think what they say is maybe the one thing he's got to do is rein in his passing a little bit. He seems to, he's one of those guys that wants to make the spectacular pass. He's so quick and his vision is so good. Just take what's there. You're going to see more things and do more things than the average point guard can do. But, if he does that, I think he's going to be incredible. Good news is they're going to play him. Going to get a chance to make mistakes and do all those things. And I like, where Memphis is headed. The bad news is they're so young. Zion's lucky. He's going to be on a much better team, I think. I'm anxious to see RJ here in the city. I'm still in New York. Guys who want to be here, guys who welcome what it means to play for the Knicks. But again, same category as Memphis. He's got his work cut out for him. Atlanta, it's funny because I'm looking at our other insiders, some liking, some not liking. I liked a lot of what Atlanta did and started DeAndre Hunter for sure. I think he's a great pick. And he's a little older. Some people are saying that's a negative. I don't think so. If I'm an NBA coach, I want to put a veteran, if you will, a college veteran like DeAndre Hunter on the floor.
Yeah, they could use some experience or some age there in Atlanta. All right, PJ, I really appreciate your time. Thanks for jumping on the show today.
All right, Will, great being with you.
All right, take care. That's PJ Carlissimo on the Shell Pennzoil Performance Line. All right, earlier today, I don't want to say it was a childhood idol, but how about legend? Like the kind that exists only in your imagination. Earlier today, I met Dennis Rodman. You got to hear what Dennis Rodman had to say about Draymond Green, the Warriors, and what he had to say about me to my face. Next on The Will Cain Show on ESPN Radio.
This is The Will Cain Show.
This need to be off the air. You a creep.
Snoop Dogg's a fan.
Yeah, you so dumb, weirdo.
Are you? Stay right here, and you will be.
Devil.
More coming up.
The Will Cain Show is presented by Progressive.
This isn't some kind of thin limb I'm climbing out on this tree. It's the kind of smarts that keeps you from getting burned by a stove twice. You put your hand on it, hot. Second time, if you touch it again, that one's on you. Kyrie Irving was just on the Boston Celtics as the 1A around a bunch of young dudes who had accomplished something and had some veteran leadership presence you thought would thin it out or soften it up, even out the edges in Al Horford. And what happened? They were less than they were before Kyrie Irving. Why would you create the exact same scenario just to the southwest in Brooklyn? A young team that had accomplished something. Karis LeVert, Jarrett Allen, Spencer Dinwiddie, D'Angelo Russell if he's back. Young guys, just like Jason Tatum, Jaylen Brown, Terry Rozier, Marcus Smart. Young guys who made their way to the playoffs. Oh, with a veteran leadership presence to soften the edges. We had him on the show here on the Will Cain Show just the other day. And Jared Dudley. Why would you do in Brooklyn what you did in Boston? It's a mistake. Don't burn your hand twice. As former President George W. Bush said, fool me once, shame on you. Fool me twice, can't get fooled again. That's how Bush said it, something like that. It's fool me once, shame on you. Fool me twice, shame on me. Don't let the shame be on you, Brooklyn. Now, if you can get Kevin Durant, yay, good. Off and running. 1A, 1B paired together. Put that with the young guys, and you're set. And reports are Kevin Durant staying in New York City for the rehab of his Achilles rupture. And I believe I saw that he's also been operated on by the New Jersey Nets team physician. You might have some good insight there. Might be some good connections. And if you can get Kevin Durant, then you get Kyrie Irving.